So my car never idled great, and it sounded a little funny on cold start. I had planned to do fuel lines anyway, and so I'm going to take you through some of what I did to diagnose it. I was able to data log from my FTech 9 ECU, which is amazing, and I was able to see that I wasn't making it into closed loop. So I decided to tear into it, replace the intake gaskets, fuel lines, and a bunch of other things, and I'll take you along with me as I go through some of the things that I did. So the fuel lines are off, and if you're wondering if you need to do fuel lines, this is a case study in why you need to do fuel lines. You can see the connector has corrosion, and you can see the line is A, bulging, and B, that connector doesn't give me a lot of confidence. Same over here with the corrosion. These are all getting replaced with new. So we've got all the fuel lines broken free in the back, and we're actually going to take the intake off. I've decided to take the intake off this morning. It's going to make it easier to replace the center fuel line, which I could probably cut back there, right in there. Actually, the directions for the stainless lines say you can cut it here and pull it through, but I would like to do intake gaskets, and I will show you why. You can see that sure looks like it's been leaking a bit. So I think it's time to do intake gaskets there. It's pretty cruddy. So we're gonna do all the stuff today, and hopefully it goes well. We'll take a video here. I like to document all my work. A, it shows the work's been done. And B, if I need to come back to reference anything, I can see exactly how, for example, that fuel pressure damper goes. You can see back here, all the wiring. I'm going to replace some of these hoses too. And let's come back around and check out this side. This is the regulator side. Let's get focus in here. There's the regulator. There's how the regulator connects. There's the back line, and we're going to take this whole thing out. I've actually got new regulators and dampers too. The diaphragms in these are from 1986 or 7, depending on when they were made. It's an 87 car, but yeah, I don't know about you, but I don't necessarily trust all those things. So I'm just going to replace it all. Minimal cost while I'm in here to get this all done. All the injector clips came off just fine. There's some videos on this, but I'll share. You want to be really careful. This is 35-plus-year-old plastic, so you want to be very, very careful. Do not pull from this part, only pull from the connector. Gently use a pick. I use a pick from Harbor Freight, and I pull this down to here, and then slide it off carefully. All right, well, I'm just going to go ahead and start taking stuff apart here. Okay, so as you can see, the left intake is the one that has a lot of stuff connected to it, intake boots and everything else. So I've just kind of propped this up over here. It's resting carefully. Everything looked pretty good. I had one gasket, I'll show it to you here, that had gotten sucked in. But overall, I'm pretty happy. I had started with the green gaskets, name not to be advertised here, and then I decided I'm going to run over to Pelican and get the Porsche gaskets. This wasn't really that bad to get apart. I'll tell you how it is to get back together when I finish, but it really wasn't that bad if you rest this on here and don't try to take this out. I did each intake half separately. Everything came apart without really too much trouble. Again, famous last words for putting it all back together. What was cool about taking it apart this way is, I'll show you some pictures of how things look in here, is I was able to get the entire fuel system out. The injectors, well, they're original. They're old. They probably can be cleaned up and pressure tested, flow tested. I'm impatient, so I went with the 5.0 Motorsports OE replacement injectors. I understand that their flow rate and the way they operate is exactly the same with the connector. I'm going to send these out just so I do have the original injectors for the car if I need them at some point. but this way I can go and put it all back together, hopefully today. And so you can see my insulators. We're also putting new insulators on. These, I mean, they've obviously been on the car for some time. This is the piece of rubber that goes in the middle. This kind of gets floppy over time. It's really strange, actually, but this is definitely a replacement part. Everything that I can find to replace that's going to be hard to get to, I'm replacing. And yeah, there's the carnage. So I'm off to Pelican Parts to get parts. It is super awesome, actually, to be able to go do Will Call at Pelican. So this was a big part of the issue. You can see that number 6 cylinder had a intake gasket on the bottom that had gotten sucked in and deformed, and it was definitely leaking, as you can see. And it's running. I did take some time, not pictured here, to make sure I was leak free from replacing the fuel lines. But yeah, it's running and all is good. And we have closed loop operation.